The beauty of this place is we have 9 VA employees in-house. So we actually are coordinated with the Veterans Affairs Administration, and we work closely with our local VA, the Audie Murphy VA. So our patients, before they even transition off of active duty and become veterans, they've already talked with our case managers and met with our transition assistance people. So we make this transition very smooth for them. Now, when they get back to small town USA and something breaks and they need something repaired, or they have a status change where their limb maybe needs another surgery or something like that, their local VAs, if they can't coordinate through their local VA and there's an issue of technology that the local folks may or may not be able to provide, then they have central offices through the VA that they can reach back, and our doors are open to the veterans as well. So it's a fairly easy process, or we're making it as easy as we can to knock down some administrative hurdles to get the patient back here. And once the patient is known to us, we kind of do everything we can to take care of them. And actually, it's kind of part and parcel of the game. If you have a prosthesis or multiple prostheses, you're in the parts business now. You're going to need things replaced, and technologies change too, and you may want the newer technology. So it's very common for us to have patients that are here today that used to be here in 2011, left in 2013, and are back here for a tune-up or some type of secondary visit for care. And then sometimes that can be coordinated locally through their VA, which is the best, because we hope that our patients are out there working and contributing to their local communities, and that they don't want to get on an airplane and come all the way back down here. That's time and money and energy spent that they shouldn't have to do that. The prosthetists and orthotists here have done a fairly good job of training outside folks on how to make the IDEO system, and there are a couple. I know at Walter Reed they make it, and in Balboa in the Navy place, the Navy Medical Center, they can make it. And there's a civilian place in Washington State where the original inventor of the IDEO now works out there. So it's one of those kind of on-the-job training things where other prosthetists and orthotists are learning how to fabricate that. And it's a fairly small network of professionals where they can call one another and talk to each other. And we actually just had all of the orthotists and prosthetists in their professional society were down here in San Antonio. And several of our people from this building were downtown, and we invited many of them to come over to the center. So it's just like really any professional thing. There's kind of cross-pollination of ideas and spreading out the news. And we have some information papers out there, and there's been publications in the literature, scientific literature, about the IDEO. So kind of the regular whisper down the chain of how things get put out. We're happy to take phone calls if people have issues with an IDEO, and more likely what happens is the patient calls us or calls their case manager, and we get them fixed that way. Well, I think one of the good things, and I'm particularly passionate about it, is this idea that if we can take steps forward and advance the science. I have a certificate in translational science. I have a PhD in rehabilitation science and a certificate in translational science. And so it's part of my heart to say that if the government can, we absolutely have an obligation to help our folks that were injured, tip of the spear, doing our country's business. One of the best next things to do is to get our advancements out into the general public. And like I said with the POWER program, if we have outcomes that we show are of value and that we can get patients back to work, staying out of wheelchairs, maintaining healthy relationships, not having medication abuse issues, all of these things that we strive for in our patients, then we need to export some of our programs into the civilian world. So part of that is through science and sharing the literature, going to national conferences, talking to politicians about why we feel that some of these parity issues and social justice issues that, listen, you may think you're saving money if you only give your patient one prosthesis for 5 years, But actually, if they can't work and they can't walk and they're gaining weight and they suffer with depression, that is costing you a whole lot more money than just one more prosthesis that may allow them to be out of their wheelchair, be out in the community working, not feeling depressed. So trying to just educate and do the science, do good science, and then share it with our colleagues in the civilian world, I feel it's an absolute moral obligation that we do. A lot of the challenges do relate to how much it takes a lot of energy and a lot of inspiration to do the job, and keep having that renewed in our providers. Part of my job is to keep the providers renewed, inspired, motivated, acknowledged for what they do, and knowing that they need to know that they give a lot. And I know this because I used to do amputee care, and it can take a lot out of you. You have to keep yourself well in order to, in line with the drugs and alcohol analogy. There's a saying that says you have to give it away to keep it, and that's part of the 12th step. And that when you are well, you deliver through attraction, not promotion, but you deliver through attraction this message of sobriety and sanity. And it's the same for amputees and our therapists. When they give it away to keep it, they know that in doing that, they're renewed because they've contributed to somebody else's well-being and somebody else's wellness. So my job is to make sure that they feel inspired and recognized and appreciated, and that they have enough juice left in the battery to give it one more day and take care of that next patient, because it's not happening now, but it was in recent years, where the medevacs were bringing them in and bringing them in and bringing them in with no foreseeable end in sight. Oh, there's so much more to be done. It's so exciting in this field because there's a lot of smart people, doctors, engineers, biomechanists, physical therapists with PhDs in biomechanics, occupational therapists with PhDs in psychosocial recovery. Lots of smart people that are coming up with clever, creative ideas every day, and these are people that have a heart for improving the lives of our wounded. And there's a lot of crosstalk even between therapists and scientists and doctors in other fields that may inform how we practice here. So it might be somebody in nanotechnologies and robotics who come across something and say, you know what, I never thought about it, but that might be something interesting that could help develop the next prosthesis. So I don't see an end ever. Because that's what's great about the human's mind, is the ability to think of new questions, be creative, and then the power of collaborating and getting people to work together for the good of man.